Hello friends, this is Sanjay. In this video, we'll talk about the concept of inclusive education and understanding children with special needs, that is, addressing learners from diverse backgrounds including disadvantaged and deprived. This is part of the Karnataka TET CDP syllabus for paper 1 and paper 2. This topic is from the area of inclusive education, and as teachers you should be very familiar with this topic because inclusive education is something that you need to implement in your classroom in a practical basis. So if you want to know more about this, there is a very good document that is available on the CBSE website called Handbook of Inclusive Education. In that document, both the theoretical and the practical aspects of inclusive education have been covered in depth. In this video, I will be just touching upon those topics which are important from your CTET examination point of view. We'll start with understanding what is diversity in classroom and what does the Right to Education Act say about diversity. We'll understand why every school is an inclusive school, and we'll see what are disadvantaged groups and what are the key areas of inclusive education and how do we address learners from diverse backgrounds. And we will end this video with some sample questions from previous question papers. So let's get started. The title of this video is Addressing Learners from Diverse Backgrounds, including disadvantaged and deprived. So first we have to understand what are these disadvantaged and deprived learners or disadvantaged groups. So children who come from socially or educationally backward communities or from economically weaker sections of the society can be termed as disadvantaged or deprived because they do not have the same advantages that other children may have, and they are deprived of some of the facilities or the resources that children from affluent communities or affluent families may have. Therefore, disadvantaged groups or deprived learners includes children from urban areas who are engaged in child labor or children of domestic workers or children who are made to work such as fetching water or fodder, etc. Children who live in slum communities or children whose parents are engaged in activities which are not given so much respect, such as scavenging or rag picking, and children of transgender community or children of sex workers, children of seasonal or migrant labor who keep traveling to different parts of the country depending on where they get work, and children of landless agricultural labor who also keep migrating to different parts of the country, and children of nomadic communities or pastoralists who also keep moving from area to area, and children of forest dwellers and people in remote areas or desert hamlets where there might not be enough facilities, there might not be any schools nearby, and also children from areas of the country which are affected by civil strife. It can be terrorism related activities or it can be Naxalite related activities. So wherever there is a civil unrest and the education process is disrupted, even those children can be called as disadvantaged or deprived. Previously, the education system in India was clearly demarcated such that if you are from an affluent family, you would go to a private school. If you are from an economically weaker background, then you would go to a government school where the fees was significantly less. But if you look at the current education process and the current education policies in India, then every school has to be an inclusive school. That is, every school will have children from both genders. Every school will have children from disadvantaged groups, including socially and educationally backward groups and economically weaker sections also. And you will also have children from scheduled castes, scheduled tribes, and you will also have differently abled children. So the CDP syllabus also has been designed in the same way. You can see that gender diversity is covered under the chapter Gender as a Social Construct, and learners from disadvantaged groups including socially and educationally backward or economically weaker sections, scheduled castes, scheduled tribes, all of these are covered under the two chapters or topics, that is individual differences among learners and addressing learners from diverse backgrounds. And we will discuss about differently abled children or differently abled learners under addressing the needs of children with learning difficulties. If we look at the legal and the policy framework of the current education system in India, then we see that the RTE Act, that is the Right to Education Act of 2009, talks about free and compulsory elementary education, access to school, and barrier-free access for all children, including children with disability. It also talks about reservation of seats to EWS students, that is economically weaker section students in private schools. And if you look at the Rights of Persons with Disabilities Act of 2016, then it talks about inclusive education, where children or students with and without disability have to learn together. And the system of teaching, which includes the school and all the facilities and the curriculum, has to be suitably adapted to meet the learning needs of all children, including children with disabilities. And if we look at the policies, then the NCF talks about how India is a multicultural society and children from different backgrounds should be able to study together in the same school. Therefore, the concept of inclusive education is embedded in the legal and the policy framework of the current Indian education system. Now, inclusive education is not like a light switch that we can turn on and off whenever we need it. Inclusive education means that we have to address various aspects of the education system, such as we have to educate the teachers, we have to educate the peers, we have to provide physical access to the school and the facilities. The curriculum has to be designed according to the needs of inclusive education. Individual focus has to be given to all the children, and we have to use external resources wherever required. So we will cover all of these in brief in the next few slides. One of the most important aspects of inclusive education is educating the teachers, because for inclusive education to work, all the teachers should be completely comfortable with the concepts of the theory and the practical aspects of inclusive education. So it is very, very important that all teachers should be prepared to teach all students. So the concept of special teachers who will teach children with disabilities or special teachers who will teach children from a specific background, that is no longer relevant. So just to repeat, all teachers should now be trained to teach all type of children from all type of backgrounds and all types of abilities or disabilities. Another key area of inclusive education is educating the peers, because the interactions that happen among the peer groups, that is between the students in the classroom, has a very great impact on the emotional, social and academic development of children. So while the objective is not to make them into experts, children should be aware of various aspects of diversity in the classroom, about the different backgrounds that children come from, and the implication of some of the disabilities that some of their classmates might have. For example, if there is a visually disabled child in a classroom, then the other children should be aware of how to deal with the situation and how they can include this child who is visually disabled into their regular activities. Physical access is also a very, very important factor. So previously, classrooms would be designed mainly for normal children, and children with special requirements or special needs or disabilities would find it very difficult to access most of the facilities. But if you look at the current legal requirements under the RTE Act or under the Disability Right Act, we'll see that schools and all buildings have to be designed in such a way that all children and all learners should have equal access to all the school facilities, including the classrooms, library, playground, labs, washrooms, etc. So the basic requirements such as the chairs and the tables and the games and the sports equipment, all of these should be accessible to all children. So this is what physical access is all about. Another important aspect is curricular access. That is, the curriculum and all the activities that are being conducted in the classroom should be designed in such a way that they are accessible and affordable for all the students in the classroom, irrespective of their background. For example, in some schools, there are some activities which require children to buy some expensive stationery kits. Now, the people who design such activities should take into consideration that if children from different economic backgrounds are in the same classroom, can all of them afford to buy this? Because these are expensive kits. Therefore, the curriculum and all the activities in the classroom should be designed so that they are accessible, available and affordable for all the learners, irrespective of disabilities, backgrounds and any other differences. Another aspect that has been mentioned many times in many of the handbooks or the NEP or the NCF is that individual focus is very, very essential for inclusive education, because every child is different. Irrespective of the abilities or the disabilities or the background of the children. Every child is different. Therefore, the teacher and the school and everybody who's involved in the teaching learning process should make every effort to give adequate focus and individual attention to all children so that the inclusive education goals are met. And finally, we'll talk about utilizing external resources. Now we have to acknowledge that the teachers and the school authorities are not experts in every area of inclusive education. So wherever required, external resources and experts must be used to meet the needs of inclusive education. So these can be like NGOs or government agencies or subject matter experts. And they should be involved to make sure that the goals of inclusive education are met in the classroom. You can pause this video here and read through these points which are on the screen, which are about addressing learners from diverse backgrounds. So all of these points we have already covered in the previous slides. For example, the teacher and the school authority should clearly understand what is it that they are dealing with, what kind of diversity exists in their classroom, what is the background of all the children in their classroom. So they should know the realities of the situation. And wherever required, the diversity and the inclusive education should not just be inside the classroom, but it should also be outside the classroom. And institutional adaptation means that the school and all the facilities should be adapted to meet the needs of inclusive education. And support should be provided for all, and emphasizing the benefits to all pupils means peer education. And stress on outcomes and focus on curriculum content. So you should not just look at the process, but you should look at the results, right? And the curriculum should be suitable for inclusive education. And here it is also talking about the fact that professionals, teachers and parents also should be included in this effort for inclusive education. And it is not just the classroom, but this inclusive education should be done at a school level. So school effectiveness and improvement is also necessary. So these are all very generic points about how to address learners from diverse backgrounds. So the most important point on this slide is every child is different. So this is something which we have already discussed. Right? Every learner is different, and when we are talking about inclusive education and addressing learners from diverse backgrounds, we have to make sure that individual attention is given to all the children. And again, equity is the key and not just equality. Equality may mean that you are giving equal resources to all the children, but equity would mean that you are giving enough resources to each child to make sure that all the children reach the same results. For example, equality may mean that you are putting all the children in one classroom and teaching them in the same way. But some of the children may not understand what you are teaching because their basics or fundamentals are weak. They might need some extra attention. So if your objective is to make sure that all the children reach the same results, all the children clear the exam, or all the children get very good marks, then you are not just putting all of them in the same classroom and teaching them, but you are focusing on equity, where the students who are weak, you will give them some extra attention and maybe some revision classes so that they can catch up with the rest of the students and all the students clear the exam or do well in the exam. Therefore, equity is more important than equality. Next, we will solve some questions from previous question papers. So the first question is, the most effective way to convey students from disadvantaged sections that you expect them to participate and succeed would be which of the following? Now, suppose your teacher tells you that no, this subject is very difficult, it is not up to your level, so you'll not be able to do well in this. So then you will immediately become discouraged, right? You will not be interested in this subject anymore. But if your teacher tells you, hey, you are very good and this subject is something that you can easily understand and easily cover. Don't worry, if you require a little help, I can help you out, but you'll definitely do well in this. So if the teacher expresses confidence in the students, then the students become encouraged and they develop interest in the subject and they will automatically do well. Therefore, expressing confidence in the ability of the students to succeed is the best way that you can get students to participate and succeed in the classroom. Therefore, the correct answer is option 1. If you look at the other options, to develop your own interest in the topics to be taught, this is good, but that does not help the students. It is just developing your own interest. Then comparing students or comparing children and making them realize their goal. If you are comparing them, some children are doing well, some children are not doing so well. The children who are not doing well will get discouraged Therefore, comparing is not useful. And emphasize the point that you have high expectations from them. Expectations is good, but if you don't have the confidence, then just having expectations does not make sense. Therefore, you should show that you have confidence in their ability to succeed along with any expectations that you have. Therefore, option 1 is the best and the most effective option here. In India, the term learners with special education needs does not include which of the following. So now what we have studied so far is that learners with special education needs includes children from backward classes, which are the deprived or the disadvantaged classes. Children belonging to SC or ST families also are learners with special educational needs, and children with locomotor disabilities or any other kind of disabilities are also learners with special education needs, which means that all the three are learners with special education needs. So which of these does not include, right? So does not means, well, all of them are included. Therefore, none of the above is the answer here. So you have to pay attention to what is being asked in the question. We are asked to identify which of these does not come under the category of learners with special education needs. Children belonging to families of first generation learners should be sent to special schools, educated in regular schools, made to repeat the class, grouped together in classroom activities. Now, one of the things that we have studied in this particular video is that all schools are inclusive schools. Right? Therefore, first generational learners, that is, children whose parents are not educated. Therefore, these children are the first generation to go to school. So, should we put them in special schools? No. Should we make them repeat some classes? That doesn't make any sense. Should we group them together in classroom activities? This becomes segregation, or this becomes a discrimination. Therefore, this is also not correct. All children should be educated in regular schools because all schools are inclusive schools. Therefore, educated in regular schools is the answer to this question. To cater to the children from disadvantaged background, a teacher should do which of the following. Now, if there are children from disadvantaged or deprived backgrounds in your classroom, then as a teacher, you should understand where these children come from, what is their background, and what are their needs, requirements, and make sure that they are able to work with all the other students in the classroom. They are able to participate in all the activities in the teaching learning process and learn and develop together with all the other students. Right? Therefore, giving them a lot of written work doesn't make sense. Why would that benefit them? Right? If you are giving them some special extra written work, it will not benefit or help them at all. Right? Next, make them sit separately. No, this is segregation. This is discrimination. Next, ignore them. Definitely not. Therefore, the correct answer here is try to find out more about them so that you get to know what is their background, what are their needs, requirements, and involve them in the class discussions and make them participate in the teaching learning process so they can learn and develop along with the other children. Therefore, option 2 is the correct answer. While dealing with poverty-stricken students, schools must do which of the following? The last one says expect them to possess high standard of behavior. Why is this? Children are children, right? Whether they come from a rich background or a poverty-stricken background, you cannot have a high standard of behavior only from poor students, right? So this is incorrect. And this is also discrimination. Next, attach great importance to curricular activity by segregating them for better attention. Now here again, this might be okay because if you are giving them some extra attention and this is on the basis of equity, not equality, right? If you are giving them some extra attention, yes, but here you are giving great importance to curricular activity, whereas the development of children requires attention to both curricular and extracurricular and co-curricular activities. Therefore, attach greater importance to only curricular activity. This part makes this statement incorrect. Therefore, we'll remove this. Next, have zero tolerance for excuses for not attending school regularly. Now, children, they should be interested in attending the school, right? You cannot force them to attend the school if they are not interested. So by having zero tolerance, that is if you are going to punish them if they miss school 1 or 2 days because of reasons beyond their control, then you are needlessly discouraging them, right? You are needlessly punishing them. Therefore, having zero tolerance for excuses for not attending school, this is also incorrect. On the other hand, you should find out why are they not attending school regularly and make sure that you help them come to the school regularly, not just have zero tolerance. Therefore, this is incorrect. Option 1 says provide them with appropriate training to develop skills so as to develop self-esteem. Yes, self-esteem, self-confidence is very, very essential for learners, for children. Therefore, you should provide them with the appropriate training and develop the skills that are required so that they become self-confident and they develop self-esteem. Therefore, this is the best option. And with that, we come to the end of this video. If you have any questions or feedback, please put them in the comment section below. And please do give this video a like and subscribe to our channel. If you have friends who are preparing for the same exam, then you can share this video with them as well. I will see you again in the next video of this series. Till then, take care, stay safe.